Have you ever been in a situation that you thought your problems were so overwhelming, so devastating, until you really had to sit down, be quiet, look around in the world, and figure out somebody wished they had your problems? In this episode is a very special episode where this queen turned 1,000 lemons into amazing lemonade. Stay tuned. What up, world? It's your man Dream with Dream Motivates. Welcome again to the Entrepreneur Blueprint, where we find amazing entrepreneurs that literally come to the table, had the audacity to bet on themselves and run the play. This episode is a very special episode, but I will give you an advisory. There may be some trigger warnings here in this episode, but let's go ahead and go into it. I have a special guest today that I am honored. I'm so honored to have this queen on her throne today, to allow the world to see her shine, to allow her to see her brightness, to allow her to see, to everybody to see how she overcame so much adversity, still standing, still holding it down, amazing mother, taking life to another level with her business, which is thriving. I want to introduce you to my sister, Kimberly Caldwell. Welcome to the show, sis.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, listen. And shout out to Slang with Good Vibes podcast. Definitely bringing us together and introducing me to you. You definitely have enlightened me. You definitely have shown me that, there's a lot of life to live.
Yes.
Beyond things that people think they're going through.
Yes.
Right. And so I just want to say thank you for being transparent. Thank you for
Thank you.
just hanging out with us today. And I just want to jump into it.
Thank you.
So you have and we're going to get into your business.
Okay.
Definitely. But we want to hear the story, how the business came about, right? What led us to the business? Like what now that you are in the midst of the business and growing the business and vibing the business, what actually brought on the business? So let's talk about Kim growing up as a kid. Were you a tomboy? Were you a girly girl? Where did you grow up from? What was the things that you liked doing? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, who was Kimberly as a little girl? I was definitely all girl.
Yeah.
I was definitely all girl. I am the youngest of three children. My mother I have an older brother and an elder sister. And I was very close to my brother. Very girly, but I always wanted to be with my brother. He was the neighborhood hero. All the kids wanted to be with my brother, play ball and do all of the things that kids do. But I'm just a little girl from the hood, Stop 6 to be exact, Fort Worth, Texas.
Come on, Stop 6.
That had a dream and decided to go after it as an adult. But the little girl Kim, always loving, always giving. I've always been that way. But there was a lot of trauma as a kid. I call it from tragedy to triumph. And I experienced a mother who drank, a mother who could be extremely mean at times. And then I experienced a lot of sexual assault ultimately getting pregnant at the age of 13 from that abuse. And
Whoa.
there, it was really, it was a lot of trauma in the sense of not really having a voice, because I grew up in the time that what goes on in the house stays in the house. And so you better not talk about what you've experienced, right? And so I kept quiet a lot about what I was going through. However, this abuse went on a lot from 9 to 13 until the point that I got pregnant. And that trauma stopped, but I was fast and I was being grown, womanish, as they called it back then. But it was none of that. It was me being violated, knowing that you were going to go somewhere and what was going to happen when you got there. So I would do things like act up so I wouldn't have to go to my dad's house, because I was going to get in trouble at school and then I didn't have to go. But that's not what happened. You got in trouble and you still had to go. And so that's where a lot of my abuse took place.
Let me rewind for a second,
Okay.
just to unpack it.
Okay.
If you can give us some context, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Okay.
So you said from starting 9 years old.
9.
Okay, and you said you had got pregnant
At 13.
and then had the baby.
Had an abortion.
You had abortion.
Which added on to the trauma, right? Here I am, a little girl, having to go through that, and then having to, at the time, they say, okay, well, you're going to get rid of this baby. But as an adult now, that's trauma, because I was made to do something that I would not have done had I had a choice. My choices were taken from me. My choices were taken from me at 9, right? So it didn't start with sex. It didn't start with penetration or any. It started with grooming. That's usually how sexual assaults start. Grooming, rubbing you on the back, and wanting to see you in your panties. And then I was wearing something, maybe Care Bears or something.
Wow.
And then, or laying in the bed with me and doing a lot of rubbing, or wanting me to kiss you in your mouth, right? So it started with a lot of that, and then proceeding to. So I'll say probably age, if my memory serves me well, 11, that I received my first penetration. And that went on, and it went up clear until I got pregnant, and then it stopped.
So this was ongoing.
Yes. So my mom, there was joint custody. So every other weekend, or every other Wednesday, I was at my dad's.
So this is your
biological father. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, 13.
Yes.
Had an abortion.
Yes.
Then you got pregnant
At 15.
by
my son's dad. That was something I did on my own.
Okay.
But by this point now, sex has been made to be okay, because the person that was supposed to protect me from it did it to me. So it was almost like I began to use sex as a way of coping. So then here I am. I meet Christian's dad, and now I'm pregnant. And got pregnant, and my mother said, since I thought I was grown, you do what grown people do. And so I've been on my own since 15, when I was asked to get out with this baby that I knew nothing about raising a child, and myself wasn't even mature enough to live life on my own. But I've been on my own since I was 15, and I've never gone back home. So I lived from pillar to post. I moved in with people that said I could come and then didn't want me there. Ultimately, at 17, I was able to get my own place, and I've been striving to be a great mom since that point. What I will say about my trauma, it has pivoted me to the place that I am now, being able to give grace in that place, because I know a lot of people probably won't understand. But being able to forgive now at this age, being able to look back and forgive the offense, because who did it to him? Where did that come from? There's always a root to the things that we do, whether we saw it, it was done to us, whatever that is. And growing up, I always knew that I wanted to be the opposite of all the bad that happened to me. And so I became who I am today by what I went through. And again, I say tragedy to triumph, because those same people that mishandled me as a child, I am very present in their lives, and I help them in any way that I can.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So you're still cool with
Yes.
your dad?
Yes. Absolutely.
Man,
We'll call him and we'll see about him on his birthday.
Wow.
We'll Father's
Wow.
Day. Yep.
Wow.
And the flip side of that, he calls me on Mother's Day. He never forgets my birthday. And I've never got an apology. But I believe the real apology is change behavior.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we say, somebody will tell you that they're sorry, but they keep on doing the same thing. And of course, I'm grown now, but I believe my apology from my dad was him changing his behavior. And I pray that that behavior changed after.
Let me go back
Okay.
a little bit more,
Okay.
if you don't mind, because I'm trying to get paint a picture of
Okay.
you, teenage mother, 15.
Yes.
How was the transition as far as, did you drop out of school? Did you stay in school?
So I did drop out of high school,
Okay.
but I was academically done. So I'd made it to 12th grade and finished 12th grade.
Okay.
I couldn't pass the TOS test at the
Okay.
time. And I had taken it 16 times. Math was never my
Serious?
16 times.
Wow.
Math was never my subject. But I realized that having my son, how was I going to tell this kid that you go to school, you give it your best, you graduate, you go off to college, you go to the military, whatever that is, and I hadn't been the example. So at 21 years old, I went back and I took the TOS test and I passed it. And I graduated from high school, walked the stage at 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats. How did that feel?
Yeah. Let me tell you, that was probably next to having my son.
That was a big day.
That was a huge day.
Accomplishment.
It was almost like I took my power back from the things that I had heard how I couldn't do it. You know, they said it couldn't be done, but I did it.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I think you're right, because the reason why it took you 16 times because you had probably more than 16 distractions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
'Cause
imagine being a mom that
Right,
young.
you're a
Yeah.
mom. You're trying to look at the pay. You're looking
Yeah.
at life. You're like, man, get me get out of here.
Yeah.
He's trying, but when you went in, so when you at 21,
Yes. Yeah.
got it.
Absolutely. But I think it has to be a mindset shift. I think you have to want it. And a lot of people say, well, it ain't happening for me. I can't do this. I can't do that. You can if you think you can't. But if you think you can, you will.
And I think that's amazing. And we'll go back because
Okay.
you went 21, so you went through the 21, so you graduated.
Graduated high school. I
Now,
have
let
a
me
high
ask
school
you
diploma.
this. At this point in your life, what was your relationship with your father at this second?
At 21, I was still angry.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I hated him. There was no relationship. And I blamed him. I blamed my mom because I always said that she knew. Because how do you not know? I have a daughter. There is no way that something can be going on in her life and I not know about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but I think when you're preoccupied as a parent and, that you will miss things. But I don't think that was the case. And for me, I think that it was known about and out of sight, out of mind. If I don't
Yeah.
see it, I don't address it.
What would you say for people that are listening and looking at this right now that have been through and gone through similar situations? Because we always hear stuff like it happened with somebody in the family. It happened from the uncle, from
Yes.
the aunts, from the pastors.
Yes.
And, just craziness.
Right.
I tell people, like, I don't watch scary movies.
Me neither.
Yeah, I don't watch scary movies. You know
Me
why I don't
neither.
watch scary movies?
Tell me
Because I
why.
can't unsee it.
Absolutely.
I can't unsee it.
Right.
I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it.
Right.
So I allow my mind, what goes into my gates,
Yes.
guard your gates.
Yes.
What goes into these eyes
Absolutely.
has to be, if it's something now, if it's something that shocked me out of nowhere and it's like,
Right.
oh my God, I just don't do the scary movies, and oh man, you don't watch scary movies. Like, nah, I don't like it.
Absolutely not.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, what ruined me was Poltergeist. I
I
said, yeah, I don't know why y'all put this thing on. I'm not doing it. With
right.
that being said, you have a lot of things, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
that you have in your mind
Mm-hmm.
that can mentally
Mm-hmm.
damage people.
Absolutely.
And these things is like it just keeps rewinding and
Mm-hmm.
rewinding and over and over. How do you help people that are listening right now to overcome the things that you can't unsee,
Mm-hmm.
but still go through life
Mm-hmm.
and thrive the way you're thriving? Which we'll get into, what you got going on now. But I
Absolutely.
just want to help, just so we can help somebody
Mm-hmm.
that's listening today that might be going through some type of abuse like that.
Well, the first thing that I would say is give yourself grace. Right. It's not your fault. And from one person that has been through sexual assault to another, I apologize. I'm sorry that it happened. But I would say that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And you definitely have to process it a space at a time and not allow yourself to go down this dark hole. And what I mean by that, so for me, I processed not being protected. I was mad at my mom initially. How could you not protect me? Right. And so I was very angry with her. And what's crazy is I forgave my father before I forgave my mom. And I know that sounds so backwards, but my mother raised me. Right. And so I never saw any change, even after at 17 is when I told my mom, 17.
So she didn't know until 17?
Right. And it was almost like it
She
was an
did not know.
well, I'm going to say she didn't know from my mouth to her ear. I believe she always knew. But I finally, like, one day just, you know, this happened to me. And then it was like, no, it didn't.
Wow.
You know?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I want to go back to
Okay.
11.
Okay.
You're 11,
Yes.
and you said this went on from 11 to 13.
No, from 9.
But
Started at 9. Oh, the penetration.
from
Yes.
11 to 13.
Right. And it wasn't every time, but it started at 11. So it wasn't every time I went. Right. I believe I'm going to talk about the time that I feel like I got pregnant. The room that I slept in that house was right across the hall from the restroom, bathroom. And I went to the restroom one night and I flushed the toilet. And I believe because my dad and my stepmom didn't sleep in the same room. So it was a 3-bedroom house. She slept in one room. He slept in another room. I slept in the hall bed, the guest bedroom in the house. And I believe, and I beat myself up for that for a long time. Like, why did I go to the restroom? Why did I flush the toilet? Like, I should have just not flushed the toilet, right?
Oh, okay.
Thinking that if I had not flushed the toilet, that was like a key indication that I was up. And I believe that's when I got pregnant. Yeah. Yeah.
So at that age, were you? Because you're 11. These are new experiences for you. Was this a thought of normalism, or was this
No, it was definitely not
or
normalcy.
normalism, or was it a thought of how did you get as a child keep going through that and not and being quiet? Was it like
Oh no, I
if you
fought. I got in trouble at school.
Jesus?
Yeah, I became angry. I became very angry, and began to rebel in my own way. Throwing things in class, talking back. Just all of the things. And my mom would always say, "I'll get you." And I felt like I was always being punished for the thing that I was trying to escape
Wow, man.
in my mental.
God bless you.
Um, Again, my mom was. My mom was something else.
Mm.
Yeah,
So 17,
I
you
blew
told your mom.
in a fit of rage.
You told your mom,
Mm,
and she said you're lying. There's no way.
yeah.
So what
Well,
happened?
but let me say this. While that was happening to me, I slept with my mom for a long time, right, in the same bed as my mom because we only had a 2-bedroom apartment, and so I would sleep at the foot of the bed with my mom, and there were times that my dad would come over because he still came over. And I remember this one time them having sex with me in the bed. Yeah, thinking that I was asleep. Um, and I was so grossed out because in my mind as a kid, I felt like um, you are you letting him do this to me so he can keep giving you money? My
Mm.
dad would always give my mom money in Crown Royal bags. He drunk Crown Royal to
Mm-hmm.
get them purple bags, and he
Mm-hmm.
would always give her a bag, and it always had money in it.
Mm.
And to somebody else, they said, "That's sick, Kim. No, that wouldn't have happened." But can I tell you, I finally had to debunk that, say, no, that's not what that was. And it may have been,
Yeah.
you
When you
know?
when you when you go rewind the tape,
Yeah.
I rewind the tape my childhood all the time. I
Yeah.
rewind it all the time, and I'm like, yo,
What was that?
what was that? I
Yeah.
remember that. Because there's
Mm-hmm.
so you know how memories are made. Memories are made from traumatic experiences or emotional
Yes.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll go through all your life, and there's only certain things that you can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a whole bunch of stuff you don't remember. You don't
Absolutely.
remember. You don't.
Absolutely.
But the things that are trauma
Yeah.
stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's folders, if
Yeah.
you will, there's trauma folders that
Yeah.
you have, and that
Absolutely.
we all have
Mm-hmm.
as because you're still little Kimberly.
Ah, yeah.
You're
I
still her.
I promise you,
You're still her.
I am still um helping that 9-year-old
You're still.
understand that it's not her fault.
How often do you go back to her? How often do you go back to Lil Kim? How often you and her get to connect?
Maybe not as often as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but things will happen in life. I was married, got a divorce, and I immediately went back to her because I felt like the person that said they love you, right, would allow bad things to happen or to leave you or to make you feel alone, right? Um, and so it's moments like that in my life or when I feel like I'm losing someone. It could be a friendship, grieving friendships. I go back to her like, well, they did it and that person did it and you're doing that
Hmm.
too. And so then you put everybody in this same category. You just like my mama. You just like my daddy,
Hmm.
you know? And then and then the healthy me, right? Because that part of me was unhealthy. But the healthy me realizes that, yes, it happened. Yes, it looks similar, but you don't charge people for crimes they didn't commit.
Man. So let me ask you
Yeah.
this. You were married for how long?
On paper, 17 months. But this person married, we got married, and if we lasted 6 months.
Let me ask you, and have you been married since?
No.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
so let me ask you this, and once again, I'm hoping these questions are really and I thank you so much. I mean, you're being very
Absolutely.
transparent,
Absolutely.
and it's helping someone that has been have gone through this, and they're an adult, but they still need to go back to this 10-year-old, right?
Absolutely.
11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 9-year-old. Jesus.
Absolutely.
Um, do you feel like what happened
Hmm.
affected or what would affect future relationships?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. You will hurt everybody that come in connection with you or in contact with you in a romantic
Mm.
relationship every time that there is discord. So when you're going back and forth or there is a disagreement, um, you feel like you're being not seen or heard in that relationship, you automatically go to you're just like them.
Mm.
And I did that for years. I've heard a lot of people that I've had to go back and right wrongs. And I'm mature enough spiritually and naturally to understand that I went through all of those things. But just like Joseph, right? Sometimes you have to go through places that are uncomfortable to get to where God wants you to be. And
Mm.
had I not gone through that, I could not speak to the
Mm.
very heart of the
Mm.
young girls and women that put on all the makeup, all the hair, do all the things, but are the most insecure, the most depressed or deal with anxiety. You know, you show up real good, but then you don't feel like what you look like. And I had the imposter syndrome for many years, you
Break
know.
that down for me. Like
So
I hear about I've I've been through training, and I've heard, through, shout out to ET, and we talked about, people going through, but I want to hear from your lens, and for other women, because I hear this a lot, but I want to hear from you.
so the imposter syndrome, it for me was being good enough but not ever seeing myself that way, not ever feeling good enough to be God had created me to be.
Mm.
You know, going into spaces or being offered opportunities, showing up but still not feeling like not living up to it because you're not feeling worthy of an opportunity, of a relationship. And so you go through these cycles of internally, not outwardly. You show up outwardly, but internally you're going through you. Oh, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. And then for me, it was validation. Always needing validation. Always needing somebody to validate that insecurity.
Do you feel like when you go out and you do your thing that you feel like you're dimming your light? You don't give it your all. You just kind of give them a little bit of. You don't just boom. You just
Absolutely.
is this a part of?
I believe that. I absolutely I have done that and I still do that if I can be honest. You walk in rooms with people that are that are successful and have proven results, and you possess that, but you won't do it because you don't know what people will say or how people will receive you.
Now let's
And
talk about that,
okay,
because that's a big one.
yeah.
I think that right there is probably one of the biggest.
Hmm.
Uh, Fear of not being accepted.
Yes.
Do you mind talking about overcoming that or going through that, and maybe some of the things that you went through had stems from the things that you went through?
So I've been asked to speak a lot, right?
Hmm.
Because there is a call on my life, and I'm aware
Definitely.
of that.
100%.
But I will walk into a room and feel like if I give it all I got, how will they receive what I'm saying? Or what will they think about it? I can do great. I can speak, the room stands, and then I'm in the car driving home. Oh, I said too much. I didn't do enough.
Oh, wow.
What did they, instead of saying, girl, you did that.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from all that I've been through, right? I would always hear I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't this enough. I was going to have a house full of children. All of the things that did not happen, right?
Right.
And if I can be honest, I still struggle with that, but I have a gift. I told you I was anointed to do this, right? So if I am given a mic, the God in me stands up so tall.
Definitely. And I got a chance to see a piece
and
of
I
that.
can walk away in that moment. I just give it all I got.
Yeah.
And walking away from that, I self-loathe like nobody's business. And I'm sharing that because you
Hold
can't
on. You say you self-loathe.
self-loathe. Yes.
What is that?
Self-criticize. I critique myself
Got you.
to the end.
Got you.
So you should have said this instead of that. You should have given more of that. Why didn't you say this? Your voice. Why didn't you, But this voice that I have, I promise you, it's a God-given gift.
But definitely is. I got a shout out to everybody that came out to Dreamer Fest.
Yes.
And I got a sample of you got on the mic and okay, you talk about your business, boom boom boom. About 45 seconds in. And then I seen it.
Yeah.
I seen it light up. And I was like, oh. And then you pulled it back.
Yeah.
Which is cool because, we're it's a network mixer. We're not
Right.
fit to go into evangelism.
Right.
But right then and there, I seen it. I said, oh, I see.
Yeah.
And so some people say I'm empathic.
Right.
I can kind of feel it and understand it.
Right.
So that's where, some of my gifts lie. But just some coaching, for you and some validation.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, and we talked earlier, what you have, in my opinion, cannot be taught.
Right.
You can framework certain things, but the way you got on the mic, the way you carried yourself, the way you put that thing in, and even the way that you got off,
Right.
with where we're like on the end of our chair, like you can't teach that,
Right.
and and I'm gonna show you how you need to think about everything that you do thus far this day, right? So
Right.
let me do a quick little, just question for you. When you were 15
Yes.
and you had your baby, now do you remember that day?
The day that I gave birth?
Yeah, do you remember that day? Do you remember where you was at?
I do.
Okay, you remember the circumstances, what was going on in your life and what's going on?
Maybe not the circumstances to the T,
Yeah.
but I remember that moment pretty well.
You remember it, right?
Yes.
Now let me ask you a question. In that moment, was it a perfect time to have a child?
It was absolutely not a perfect time
Absolutely
to have a child.
not, right? And that child was a boy or girl?
Boy.
Boy. And that's your son?
Yes. My
What's your
oldest
son's
son,
name?
Christian.
Christian. Now I'm gonna just ask.
Okay.
How is Christian doing today?
Well, Christian is a college graduate with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He is currently in the graduate program at UNT Denton, getting his master's in criminal justice and business. He works for Texas Instrument. He makes more money than I've ever made in my life. He doesn't have any children. He saves and he travels this world. He has served our country in the U.S. Marine, in the Marines, and he's an awesome son and a wonderful big brother.
Now,
Yeah.
now let's think about that.
Okay.
There was not a perfect. There will never be a perfect time,
Right.
a perfect place,
Right.
a perfect situation.
Right.
But you did birth that child.
I did.
That's how you got to look at the steps that God is going to order you
Yes.
right now. Just like Christian is here as an amazing grown man right now.
Absolutely.
So will your business, so will your speaking career, so will the things that you're going to do, and everything that you speak, it will come into existence.
Thank
You
you.
just got to walk through it. Keep going just like you walked through it with Christian.
Yes.
And the hardest part was in the beginning because when you birthed it, it's a birth.
Right.
It's tough.
Yes.
And then you're growing up with the baby steps. And now he's walking. Now he's in diapers. Now he's, you know what I'm saying? So just like that wasn't a perfect time, it's never going to be a perfect time
I
to
believe
really
that.
take all and never criticize, go in and you just do it
Right.
unapologetically.
Can I tell you that I do that every time? Because I understand. First of all, I'm not that smart, right? When it comes to how I speak and what I say when I'm speaking, I've run tapes back. And they're like, "Oh my God, Kim, you you shook the room." And I go in all kinds of rooms, right? Sometimes I go in rooms with millionaires. I'm in rooms with state representatives and mayors and all of the people, right? And given an opportunity to speak, there's always somebody at the end to come and say, "Where did you come from?
Yeah.
And why?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am grateful for the gift because I understand that there is a people that is assigned to Kimberly Caldwell, and I have to open my mouth.
That is correct.
I have been a lot in my life. I've been told sit down and shut up. And so every opportunity that I get to speak, that I have something to say, I will speak.
So let's talk about these amazing things that you're doing now,
Okay.
which is amazing, you know.
Thank you.
So let's framework up your business.
Okay.
So the name of your business is, what is it called?
It's called Jules Comfort Keeper. My grandmother was Jewel Irma Caldwell.
Okay.
And when the Lord gave me the name, it did not make sense because when they hear it, they're like, is that assisted living or is that? But every man is a jewel who needs to be comforted and kept. And when you think about the work, reentry work, and men and women, but specifically men that go to prison, usually go to prison because just like that 9-year-old girl, there may be a 9-year-old boy that experienced some things and never was not able to shake it like me. And so maybe drug use took place or anger or violence. But one thing that I learned in my studies, I'm a social worker by degree, is that anger is just anger is just sadness turned inside out. So it comes out as anger, but that's really sadness. And so it leads them down a path. But Jules Comfort Keeper is a reentry program. And when God gave it to me, it was given to me for men. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now,
To help a man on his journey.
Let me just ask you, do you feel like, I want to hear from you, but do you feel like at this second it's only for men?
I don't. And it hasn't been, if I can be honest. I've helped a lot of women too. I started a clothing closet because I knew what it was to lack. And yes, they need clothes and all of that, but I always want people to feel cute inside. And if you feel cute inside, then you feel cute outside. So when I started all of this, I wanted to reach down to people's trauma and help them from the inside out, right?
That's awesome.
And so then I started this clothing closet, and I ended up getting more women clothes than men. And I was like, okay, Lord.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So,
I let you know, some brothers are we're kind of hard, we're tough. We're like,
Yes.
nah, man, I'm gonna make it. You know, I'm good. I'm good. When you hear man, for one, let me just tell you right now, for anybody that's listening, if you see a man, okay, here's a couple of things. If you see him quiet, if he's staying in the car for a long time before he gets out, if he's sitting down staring at his phone just for minutes at a time, just for nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you ask him, "Are you okay? Are you good?" And he says, "I'm good."
Mm.
You can tell when somebody's good.
And usually he's not.
And usually it's not. And there's something going on. There's the weight of the world is
Mm-hmm.
on the man. We get it's either, and this is just real. Shout out to people that are dating right
Mm-hmm.
now. I heard the dating scene is really weird. I
Yes.
never went to the swipe left situation. That's kind of crazy. And praise God, I didn't have to go through that.
Right.
But you either don't have enough time because you're always out making money,
Right.
or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're a broke dude.
Mm-hmm.
And so you a broke dude, and now we're going to talk about you because you broke and you're not
Right.
providing. So that mid thing is very hard on a man. And
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, we talked, with a young lady last night where she went through some domestic violence.
Yes.
And that's something that he's dealing with as well.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no how to be a man school
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have a father.
Right.
And there's a lot of fatherless children out there.
Yes.
And, my father literally walked away from me. And me and you are parallel in a lot of ways because it made me want to be a better father.
Absolutely.
I'm like, yo, I'm going to be,
Mm-hmm.
like, I ain't, like, that Will Smith scene,
Yeah.
that big, when he was on Fresh Prince,
Yes.
when I tell you that hit home with me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yo, that was a scene. I mean, I can't, every time I watch that scene, I'm like, bro, I can't watch it.
Right.
But we deal with this stuff.
Yes.
And what I see with you is how you're able to help people cope through it. And the messed up thing, like I said off camera to you, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it to you guys that's listening, is unfortunately the ones that are called,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
you had to go through everything you
I
went through.
I had to. Yeah.
And that's just
Yeah.
like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why'd I have to go through all this?
Right.
Why does everything, you hear somebody say, I remember one time, and this, by the way, never do this, but I did it. I went, there's a spot before I had made money and,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a spot in Dallas. I won't name the location, but it's a crazy location, super dope, and these big cribs are there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would drive through there
Yeah.
and say, man, one day,
One day.
I'm finna get one of these, man. Never been on the cars. I mean, God's blessed me with cars and all that. But the cribs, like, yo, this is crazy. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I get out of my car and I go knock on the door of somebody's house. The house is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It was crazy.
Right.
And this dude opened the door. Dude probably about 24, 27, 28, I don't know. He had some flip-flop shorts and a tank top on. He was like, what up, dude? White boy.
Right.
Real good. Real smooth cat. Real player. He was super good. What's going on? How can I help you? I said, hey, is the owner of the house here?
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, I own it. I said, listen, man, no disrespect. I'm just asking.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I knocked on his door, because I drive by your house all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire your house. I know this sounds weird, but
Right.
I want to figure life out.
Right.
And I asked him, and I'm still at the door right here, and he's looking at me just like, and I said, bro, if you don't mind me asking, like, how do you get something like this?
Right.
And he looked down, and he said, man, come here. He sat me down at the it was the kitchen. The kitchen has like the little bar area. He said, you want some drink? He was drinking a beer or whatever. I was like, that's some water or something. So, oh, you don't drink? I said, no, I don't drink. He said, give me some water. He said, man, you say you still got your mom and dad? I was like, no. He said, yeah, I lost my mother and father in a car crash,
Wow.
and the insurance paid for my house. And I got this house. That's all I got left.
My Lord. Wow.
He was like, yeah, it's a dope house, but I give it all up so I can get my mom and dad back.
Wow.
And that like shook me, man. I was like,
Yeah.
but he obtained something
Yeah.
from a loss.
Right.
Everything, sometimes you have to lose something
Yes, to gain it.
to gain it.
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like you have to lose. Something has to die
Right.
for something to grow.
Right.
Something has to be put down
Right.
for something to come up.
Right.
Like
Even if it's you.
yeah, you
Sometimes you gotta die to yourself.
gotta, man.
Sometimes you gotta die to your old self.
And his name is Kobe.
Wow.
His name's Kobe. Real cool, man. And Kobe hit me up about, that was like 10 years ago. Kobe hit me up out of nowhere the other day.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, man, Dre, how you doing?
Wow.
I've been seeing you on social media. Keep going, bro. I said, man, how you doing? I said, man, I'm good. I got a family. Just had a son.
Wow.
Doing my thing. And he said, man, remember you told me about that Bible verse? He said, bro, I put that Bible verse I got it printed out on this really dope piece of wood at the house, and I read it every day. And it helped me every day. And it was, I always like trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thine own understanding. Because you just can't figure it out. I said, the reason why bro, your mom and dad's gone, my mom and dad's gone, but we can't figure out why.
Right.
All we got to figure out is what we got to do to get ahead.
Yeah.
We can't be just like, why my mom? If you sit there all day and try to figure out why everything happened to you, the way it happened, how it happened, why this person, that's why I love the fact that you were able to forgive and you're still going back to them and saying, hey, how you doing? Happy birthday, happy Father's Day. That is amazing.
Yes. I've learned to, this is definitely something I learned, is to forgive and show grace. And I do that because who's sitting here today, I've not always been.
You're not the same person.
And so I understand the importance of grace, and I understand the importance of extending grace to others, because it's in a moment. If you mishandle someone in a moment and they grow from that moment, you've missed out on a lifetime of something that could have been great. And so I say all the time, what a person does in a moment, it defines the moment. But if you put a period there, that's the end. If you put a semicolon there, there's still more to that story.
Golly.
And so I think we need to extend that grace to one another. And so my personal lived experiences has pivoted me to this moment where I'm able to extend grace, because I'm sure that there are moments where I thought I was good, or I thought I had done something great, and the person receiving that said, no, not so much. And so then they extend grace to me, and I'm able to right that wrong, right? Correct the errors of my actions. And so I've learned to just live by that, even with my children, right? I had a baby at 15, so I could not have been a good mother, right? And I never sugarcoat that. I feel like I was a horrible mother until I got to about maybe 30, if I can be honest.
So
it took him getting into high school for me to realize that I had to do something different. Gotcha. Because what I was doing was repeating cycles of what had happened to me. So I was raising my son according to how I had been raised, with the exception of sexual abuse. And so you learn, I believe, just by lived experiences. And so now I'm a mother of 3. And these last 2 children really got the best of me. And I tell Christian all the time, thank you for teaching me how to love you and how to parent you.
Man.
And what it was that he needed. And me and my son are super close.
Listen.
Yeah.
You need to get your gym shoes on, right?
Yeah.
Because it's time to run. You are about to shake. You are about to shake You are about to shake some things. I can feel it.
I appreciate that.
You're about to you are about to explode into everything that you've been trying. You know, the great thing about grace is that God gives it to you. But the better thing about grace is when it's time.
Yes.
And it's time for you. It's everything that you've been wanting, the things that you've been wanting of the desires of your heart
Right.
to speak,
Mm-hmm.
help people,
Yes.
overcome these adversities.
Yes.
It's about to happen.
Absolutely.
And I document it right now. It's documented on this day. What's the day? This February the 12th.
It is.
Watch what I tell you. I promise you, we're gonna recap and see you on the stages of the world,
I
changing
appreciate
people's
that.
lives and understanding that where you come from that had nothing to do with where you're going.
Right. I when before we went live, I was telling you about the email that I had received
Mm.
from the inmates at the Estes unit, Sanders Estes unit in Venus, Texas, that I recently visited. And when I opened the email, I was on a Zoom, so I was distracted. So I had to go back to it.
Yeah.
Opened the email only to receive thank yous
Wow.
from those inmates, a few of those inmates stating, thank you for encouraging me, for seeing me.
Yeah.
And if for nothing else, Dream, I do this work. I do this work so that others don't have to experience the pain that I did, right?
Yeah. For sure.
And even if
It's
you go
therapy.
and even if you go through something,
Yeah.
knowing that somebody is there,
Yeah.
gonna visit, gonna write you,
Right.
whatever that is. And I follow the individuals that I serve because I want them to know that I'm not doing this for a dollar, but I really want to see transformative change in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that by extending an olive branch to my brothers and my sisters that have been formerly incarcerated, that I heal.
Mm-hmm.
And I learn how to be a better me and who God has purposed me to be in the earth. So that's why I do this work.
Well, listen, standing ovation right now.
Yeah,
Stand
thank
ovation,
you.
like stand ovation, because
Thank you.
I am just I love it, and I love seeing. So Helen Keller was blind, and she said, "What's worse than being blind is having sight with no vision." I see you. I'm telling you, I see you.
I
I
appreciate
see
that.
you for real.
I appreciate that.
And it's God's just gonna order the steps.
Yes, he is.
He's gonna order the steps. You're gonna keep stepping and steps and stepping and stepping and stepping.
Yes.
And don't worry about it. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. And lean not to thine understanding. But then there's a deal after that.
Mm-hmm.
In all thy ways acknowledge him.
Him.
And he should direct our path.
Yes.
He said, I got you. Just let everybody know,
Yes.
I'm the one that helped you through it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there's a million and a trillion questions that I want to ask. And I don't want to, go harder than we are. But we definitely want to bring you back on the Entrepreneur Blueprint. Definitely want to invite you to some of these network mixes, and definitely want to call upon you rocking the stage with me. I definitely want to get you to rock a couple of stages with me. For real. How can we all get in contact with you? Let's give everybody some context and some outlets.
So I am on Facebook as the business page is Jules Comfort Keeper Incorporated, spelled out. I'm Kimberly Caldwell on Facebook. I think there's probably 2 or 3 pages out there. There's one that's Kimberly D. Caldwell. I'm JCK 1915 on Instagram. Yeah, you can find me out there.
Okay.
On our website, www.julescomfortkeeper.us. And they can always call us at 682-551-5276. And yeah, that's where they can find us.
Well, listen, guys, you have heard it. And I'm so happy and proud of you.
Thank you.
And I've definitely met your spirit before I met you.
Yes.
We definitely connected.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And God is going to continue ordering your steps.
I appreciate that.
And definitely, I want everybody to connect with my sister. You know, you have a nonprofit,
Yes,
right?
it is a nonprofit.
Okay,
yes.
you have a nonprofit. So,
And we're always looking for volunteers. And,
yeah, so we want to donate. These
yeah.
are the numbers and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We're
Yeah.
going to give out. So we gave out that information.
Yes.
I definitely just like I said at the end of the day, I hope that this changed or helped somebody
Yes.
that is maybe have gone through this. And I know it's a couple of trigger warnings there, and I just want to be able to help people that's went through this to overcome. It's just I appreciate you once again.
Yes, thank you
for hanging out with
No,
us.
I sincerely want to thank you, not just for myself, and I tell you this often, but for all of the lives that you touch, right? You are what I call a modern day prophet, and being able to bless others. But I believe that when you bless the prophet, you get a prophet's reward. So thank you.
Well, look, I appreciate that. Shout out to everybody. Listen, guys, go out there and be great.
Yes.
Listen, your circumstance is up to you. You have the joystick to make a decision. It's a decision. You have to simply decide that I am going to change. I am going to be better. And in order to do that, you're going to have to, number one, decide to be better. Number two, remove distractions. And number three, make sure that you are consistent. It's your man Dream with Dream Motivates. My sister, Kimberly Caldwell, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. We out.